What is up guys, it's Cal, and in this video we're going to do some pet battles. Exciting stuff. There's an achievement called Family Fighter where you have to defeat all 18 boss pets across Argus using teams totally comprised of either Aquatic or Beast or Elemental, you know, that sort of thing. It's a lot of fights to it. In fact, it's a total of 180 battles. So in this video, we're going to show you one of those pets named Ruinhoof, who's located at 66.73, 72.66, and Kroken. Now, I don't want to say there does not have to be any world quest active for you to battle this guy. You can just keep battling him over and over again to meet the achievement criteria. And I'm going to show you the teams I used for every different pet class to defeat him. Now, I just want this to be clear, is that you can use your own pets, like these aren't the set in stone ones you can use. You can go on Wowhead or find your own teams totally comprised of a specific class of pets to defeat him. These are just the ones that I used, and remember, if you do have level 1 of a pet, you can go to the pet menagerie store in Dalaran, spend 45 pet charms to purchase a stone that immediately just puts your pet to level 25. But anyways, let's get started. So the first one I did was I faced him with humanoid pets. I just needed the little bad wolf and hogs. I didn't really need to use my third pet, but make sure you do have a third humanoid pet in there so then it counts for the achievement. And for little bad wolf, I use the 1-1-1 abilities, so just the abilities in the first slot, and same thing for hogs. All the first abilities. Now, when starting out the fight, Ruinhoof does put an apocalypse type thing over the field, which just means you have to defeat him in less than 20 turns. Either you're going to beat him in less than 20 turns, or he's gonna just wipe out your team, so you don't really need to worry about that. But with Little Bad Wolf, I started off with a Mangle, and then I followed that up with a Howl, and then I just used Claw until my Little Bad Wolf died. And then brought Hogs out. And then Hogs, I just started with a Headbutt, and then I Stampeded until Ruinwolf died. And then for Draconic Destruction, which is defeating him with Dragon Pets. I used the Nether Fairy Dragon, which the abilities I used were Arcane Blast, Life Exchange, and Moonfire. And then I used the Emerald Protodrake, which I just used the first abilities there, which was Breath, Ancient Blessing, and Proto Strike. I think I only used Breath for him anyway. And then I did have a third Dragon Pet. I used Lil Terragosa. I only needed him for 1 turn, so I'm pretty sure you can use just any Dragon Pet you wanted. I picked him because he had a Glass Cannon ability, Surge of Power, which did a significant amount of damage to Ruinhoof. Because I forgot to say this at the beginning, but Ruinhoof is a boss pet, meaning that he takes 50% less damage and cannot take more than 35% of his health in a single turn. So it's like the magic effect. So with the Nether Fairy Dragon, I started with a Moonfire, and then I followed that up with an Arcane Blast, and then another Arcane Blast. Now, your dragon is pretty low health, and he has pretty high health at this point, so you just use Life Exchange to equalize both of your healths. Now, you want to make sure you get the second Moonfire in right after the Life Exchange. If he kills you before that, then you're going to want to restart. But you want to make sure you get the second Moonfire in. And then your Nether Fairy Dragon's going to die. At which point you bring in the Emerald Protodrake, and start off with a Breath. In fact, I think I just used Breath on him until he died. I forget how many rounds he lasted. And then finally, he had just over 150 health for me. So with my Little Terragosa pet, I used Surge of Power, which did a whopping 402 damage to him, which is a lot for a boss pet. But it definitely took out the 155 health that he had lasting. Next up for the magic team, I used the Hijal Wisp, and the abilities were Arcane Blast, Evanescence, and Amplify Magic. Then I used Viscous Globule with Ooze Touch, Poison Spit, and Expunge, and then finally the Sanctum Cub with Pounce, Leap, and Dodge. So now at the start of the fight with my Hijal Wisp, I started off with an Arcane Blast. Then I used the Evanescence to dodge his first ability, or his first damaging ability rather, and then Amplify Magic to empower my next damaging ability, which was Arcane Blast. And then I followed that with another Arcane Blast, and then a third Arcane Blast. And then he killed my Hijal Wisp, so I brought in my Viscous Globule, which I started off using a Poison Spit. Then I followed that up with an Expunge, and then an Ooze Touch, which led to him dying, so I brought out my Sanctum Cub. I started off using Leap, so my Sanctum Cub would be faster, and then I used Dodge. And then I just kept pouncing until he died. Now next up, for the flying pets, I used Icky and Terraclaw Hatchling, which I'd highly recommend getting these two pets. They're used in a ton of strategies, but for Icky, I had Savage Talons, Black Claw, and Flock. And then for the Terraclaw Hatchling, I used all the second abilities, so Alpha Strikes, Dodge, and Nature's Ward. And then make sure you do put a third flying pet in there, even though I never used my third flying pet, just so you get credit for the achievement. So I started off using Icky, and then I used Black Claw on him, which increased the damage he took, and then I used Flock, and he essentially just kept flocking until he died, to which I brought the Terraclaw Hatchling out. And the Terraclaw Hatchling, I just used Alpha Strike, and Ruinhoof died. It was just that easy. Now the aquatic team was pretty tricky, but what I did use was Banax, which I used Water Jet, Swarm of Flies, and Bubble for him. Mud Jumper I used Water Jet, Swarm of Flies, and Bubble once again. And then Fen Crab I had a Rip, Spiny Carapace, and Dive. Now for Binax, I started off using Swarm of Flies, and then I used Bubble, which allowed me to block his next 2 attacks, and then I used Water Jet. I then used Water Jet once again, and then I used Water Jet for a 3rd time. And then I used Swarm of Flies and tried to get another Water Jet in, but he did kill me before that. Now with Mud Jumper, I started off using a Bubble, and then I followed that up with a Water Jet, and then I used another Water Jet on him, and I think I just kept using a Water Jet until my Mud Jumper died. And then with my Fen Crab, I just dived at the start, and he had a little sliver of health left. Then I used Rip on him, and that killed him. Next, for the Elemental team, I used the Water Waveling and gave him Ice Lance, Frost Shock, and Geyser. Then the Pandaren Water Spirit, who I gave Water Jet to, Dive, and Geyser. And then finally, the Autumnal Sproutling, which I put all the first abilities for, so Lash, Nature's Ward, and Sons of the Root. So first off with Water Waveling, you want to use Geyser on him. And then when he has a Geyser debuff, you want to use Frost Shock, which will slow him down but will also chill him. And then you want to follow that up with an Ice Lance, which will hit him twice because he's chilled. And then use another Ice Lance on him, which will hit him twice. And then the Geyser will hit him, which will stun him, and then I just used another Ice Lance. And then he killed my Water Waveling. So with the Pandaren Water Spirit, I just started off with another Geyser. And then I followed that with a Dive. And then I used a Water Jet, and I only had a little bit of health left, to which he then killed me. Now with the Autumnal Sproutling, I think I should have started off with a Lash because he was stunned from the Geyser and then used Sons of Root, but I started off with the Sons of Root anyway. And then the Sons of Root will protect you for a few rounds, and then follow that with a Slash, and just keep slashing. Hopefully he does not kill you, and you kill him first, with the little bit of health I had left. Next up was the Team of Beasts. So you want to use any snake in the first slot that has Poison Fang, Hiss, and Burrow. And in the second slot, I use the Zandalari Ankle Render, which I put all the second abilities for, so Hunting Party, Primal Cry, and Black Claw. And then the third beast pet, make sure you do put a beast pet there. You can really put anything. I put another Zandalari pet there. I only needed to use him for 1 turn. Now for the battle, I started off using the Poison Fang with my snake, and then I used Hiss. I then followed that up with a Burrow, and then after the Burrow, I used a Poison Fang, and then after that Poison Fang, he ended up dying. And then I brought out the Zandalari Ankle Render, which I just used the old trick of using a Black Claw, and then following that up with a Hunting Party, which does a number to him. But he did kill my Ankle Render, so my last Zandalari pet I brought out and then used Stampede, and he died in the first Stampede hit. Next up is the Critter team. Now we're almost done. For Critters, you want to use a Rabbit, any Rabbit, and then put all the second abilities, so that's Flurry, Dodge, and Stampede. And then following that, you want to have 2 Snails, and you want to give them Ooze Touch, Acidic Goo, and Headbutt. Both the snails that. Now starting the rabbit off, you want to use Stampede at the beginning. And then after the Stampede, go for a dodge. That is if he doesn't crit you and just kill your rabbit. If he does, then you do have to restart. And then while your rabbit can't take any damage, use another Stampede to keep that debuff on Ruinhoof. Now your rabbit's going to die and you're going to want to bring out a snail. And then start that snail off using Headbutt. And then follow that with Acidic Goo. And then I used an Ooze Touch. And then I think I just did another Ooze Touch and that killed him. So I didn't even go to my last snail. And then for the mechanical team, I use the Iron Starlet. And that's really all you need. I mean, you do need 2 other mechanical pets. Make sure you fill the last 2 mechanical pet slots. The abilities I gave the Iron Starlet were Wind Up, Powerball, which I didn't even use at all, and Explode. And then the backup mechanical pets I used were the Mechanical Pandaren Dragonling, which I just used for 1 round at the very end, and then Clockwork Gnome, just because. Okay, so how this goes, you're going to use 1 Wind Up. You are then going to use another Wind Up, and it will do a significant amount of damage to him. You then want to use another Wind Up, and then, you guessed it, use a 4th Wind Up. Now after this 4th Wind Up, use Explode because his next ability is going to kill your Iron Starlet, and then he's going to res with 20% health because he's mechanical. At which point he will explode and do a lot of damage to Ruinhoof, who only has a little sliver of life left, so bring him a Mechanical Pandaren Dragonling, use Breath, and he died. And then the final team, which is comprised of undead pets. I used the Unborn Valkyrie and picked Shadow Shock, which I didn't even use Shadow Shock at all, Curse of Doom, and Haunt. And then I used the Infected Squirrel, which I picked Stampede, Rabbit Strike, and Consume for. And then finally, the Bone Serpent. I had Bone Barrage, Call Darkness, and Nocturnal Strike. So at the start of the fight, with your Unborn Valkyrie, you want to use Curse of Doom, and then follow that up with a Haunt, which will increase the damage your Ruinhoof takes by 25% for the next 9 rounds, but will also kind of kill your Unborn Valkyrie in the process. And then with the Infected Squirrel, I started off with a Rabbit Strike, which he immediately died after that, but he rezzed because he's an undead. And in his undead round, I finished it with a Stampede. Then finally, I brought out my Bone Serpent and used Call Darkness, which did a lot of damage to him even though humanoid attacks do less damage to beasts. But then he actually died by the Unborn Valkyrie's Curse of Doom. And that is it, guys. Those are all 10 teams that you can use to defeat Ruinhoof for all 10 of those achievements, and 11 including Family Fighter, and actually 12 including Anomalous Animals of Argus. Hope this video was helpful at all to you. If you guys have any other teams that you can use against this guy, you can leave them in the comments below. I'm sure other people would like to know that, because I doubt a majority of the people who watch this video will have level 25 pets of every pet I mentioned in this video. But anyways, if this was helpful at all to you guys, you can leave a like on it. You can sub to the channel for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.